love's for beginners. Ain't no witness, it slips through your fingers. I ain't telling no lies. So F all the drama, F the karma. Just do what you wanna. Promise you got time. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no one's mama, yeah, treat yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Come get your future. Know you wanna, she'll never betray ya. She ain't telling no lies. So break the glass ceiling, find your meaning, make truth out of dreaming. Yeah. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no one's mama, yeah, treat yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no one's mama, yeah, treat yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. Cause baby, you deserve the best in life.
Oh, hello everyone. Can you hear me now? I think I was on mute for a second. Hope you are all doing fabulous. Happy Thursday. Friday is tomorrow. There's one more day, folks. Just one more day. FYI, I just saw someone in the chat post about where they were from. It's okay to post where you're from, everyone. But just if you're going to say where you're from, just say the state or the country. Don't go too much into detail, especially if you've got your full name. We just have to be careful about these things, you know, when we're putting details about ourselves out on the internet, because there are a lot of crazies out there, especially out here on these royal streets. So please don't give out too much information, especially if you've got your full name on display in the chat, okay? Safety first, everyone. But welcome. I saw Harry again today in Lisbon. I'm still in Lisbon. The sun is out. It's finally getting a little bit more warm here. It does actually get a bit cold, but the sun was beaming today. Nice, warm, like 18 degrees. And there is Harry again in the window. in the recommended section of the window. And a Spare is still a New York Times bestseller. I think 5 weeks now. Amazing. Likely going to be there for quite a while. Who was it that said? I think Darlene. You said, "Did I get the coffees?" I'm pretty sure I did. Let me go back to my page. And thank you so much, everybody that sends me coffees, Cash App, PayPal, however you support is very much appreciated, and it keeps the platform going. Yes, Darlene, I saw your message. 3 coffees. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Welcome, everyone. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, please, and subscribe. All right, let's get straight into it, shall we? Some interesting stories today. Right, first of all, condolences to this young man and his family. This was actually sent to me by Lightside. I'm sure we all remember the Thai cave rescue all the way back from 2018. I was actually in Bali at the time when this was going on. So, because it was Southeast Asia, um, it was all over the news there. But I mean, the news went all around the world. Several countries sent divers and tech teams, including the UK, actually. One of the main rescue divers was actually British. And he got into a dispute with Elon Musk because Elon and his giant ego had this stupid idea to send a submarine into the cave. And his idea was basically debunked by this diver guy, this British diver, who was an absolute one of the heroes in this rescue, amongst all the other divers and rescue people who were involved, including one or two, I think, who actually passed away. But Elon was so up in his ego about this guy debunking his idea, he he tried to get a private investigator or a journalist to claim that this guy was a pedo. And it went to court. The guy tried to sue for libel, but Elon, being the billionaire, privileged guy that he is, he got away with it. The good news was the diver actually did get I think he got a book deal with J.K. Rowling's agent, and he went on to make lots of money and be remembered as a hero amongst all the other people who were involved in the rescue. But sadly, the one of the young boys, the actual coach of that football team of boys that had gone into the not the coach, sorry, I think it was like one of the leads. Oh, the captain. He was found unconscious in his dorm in Leicester on Sunday. And he had actually, I believe, gotten a scholarship to come and study here in the UK. So very, very tragic. Escaped death back during the rescue, but unfortunately, death found him gone way too soon. And it was such a remarkable rescue. It really, really was. I mean, you see here, I never actually got to go to the cave. I did eventually go to Thailand, but I didn't go to the cave in the end because I just felt kind of weird about going to a place like that where a tragedy occurred. But you can see like the entrance and how far down they went, and actually how deep the cave is underneath the surface, and where the divers who went to get them, how deep they actually had to dive. I mean, 30 meters, that is deep. I've done like open water diving with scuba gear, like 18 meters, and I felt terrified in a situation like that. So rest in peace to that young man, the 2 divers that lost their lives, and God bless everyone who was involved in that rescue. It was truly extraordinary and very tragic for this young man and his family. I'm just go to comments before I continue. And as far as the boy's death, no foul play so far. They don't suspect, but I guess we'll see in the coming weeks. Sarah, I think a movie is about to be released. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's definitely movie worthy. But unfortunately, we find ourselves with a tragedy. EMG, yeah, there's some really good documentaries online about this. There was a couple news stations that put their own spin on it. Yeah, mad one. I'm sick of Elon as well. He has completely ruined Twitter. Like Twitter is so broken. Not that I care a whole lot because I just go out there to be on the royal streets. I couldn't care less if Twitter disappeared. Um, EMG, I hadn't realized how dangerous it was. Yeah, I hadn't realized how dangerous it was, how far they'd gone. And apparently, if you actually go to the cave now in Chiang Rai and you go to visit it, you're only allowed so far in, and there's only like so many people who can go in at a time because the oxygen levels are so low. So it's quite remarkable that they went so far. Anywho, just wanted to pay my condolences to that young boy. On to South Park. Now, I have not watched the Harry and Meghan episode. I haven't watched it. I don't like South Park at all. But I'm just going to say this. Number one, there's been so many articles about South Park ripped into Harry and Meghan. South Park rips into everyone, first of all. And South Park is only going to rip into you if you are relevant. So, South Park is what it's always been. It's meant to be crass, it's meant to be rude, it's meant to be over the top, it's meant to be offensive, but it's somewhat of a pop culture honor, I guess you could say, because you're not going to get featured on South Park unless you're relevant. And I thought it was quite interesting that in one of the scenes that I saw, the stills, you have Meghan on all of these covers. They were making fun of the whole like Harry and Meghan wanted privacy, blah blah blah, like that whole narrative. That's what they were making fun of. But here we are with all of Meghan's covers. So I'd like to think while they were taking a swipe, there was at least one person on that South Park team that was like, Meghan is that woman. And here she is with all her covers. And you only got one cover of Kate there in the middle. Also, this is so interesting. So South Park have also made fun of other members of the royal family, including the Queen and William and Kate. Now, William and Kate got married in 2011, and there was an episode that was released soon after the wedding. I had never actually seen this episode. I didn't know what was included in the episode until literally today. So there's two very interesting things about this episode. Things that I guess would have caused offense at the time, but I just wasn't paying attention. Number one, you see Kate being depicted as making herself vomit. You also see William break off her arm and use her arm to peg himself.
Well, next question. See ya.
Now, what I want to know is why didn't hashtag Prince of Pegging trend back then? It only trended in the last year. What do the makers of South Park know that we apparently only started speculating about in the last year? I found that mind-blowing. Also, in William and Kate news, several articles being posted about their PDA. I just find this so weird. They are a married couple. They're meant to be flirting and showing some love to each other. The way the tabloids consistently write articles about this is you're just bringing more attention to the fact that they seem so cold with each other in public in comparison to Harry and Meghan. And 1 minute it's meant to be, oh, they're following protocol and they can't show PDA to each other, and it's not, a royal thing to do, and then all of a sudden now you're posting all these articles about them giving flirty signals and PDA. And this is 2023. I really don't think anyone cares if royals show love to each other. In fact, we would like them to show more love to each other. Maybe they'd start showing more love and empathy to other people. They are a married couple. Also, Charles was, I believe, in Milton Keynes today, and he was met with protests. A bunch of protesters bought "Not My King" signs. And Republic, he actually, I think, at one point did go and greet the protesters anyway. There was no egg throwing. But Republic, which is the group here calling for a republic and a referendum on the royals, they wrote an article about royal secrets and secrecy and power, and the fact that the royals should not be afforded the protections that they are, and that their dealings should be more public, which I agree with. So they wrote, the royal household and institution of the monarchy are not included in the Freedom of Information Act, so you have no right to request any information from them. Any information or communication about or from the royals held by other public bodies is covered by an absolute exemption from disclosure under FOI rules. So you cannot ask any government department for any information either. Most government archives go to the National Archives. Archive material, including official communications and records relating to the monarchy, goes to the Royal Archive, which is locked away and difficult to access. Republic demands reform. And this is what they're asking for in the reforms. So reform the Freedom of Information Act to include the monarchy as a public authority within its scope, so that the royal household is bound by the same rules as any other public body. Number 2, full disclosure of royal lobbying. The public has the right to know the extent, nature, and impact of royal lobbying on public policy and legislation. So it is recommended that all correspondence held by public authorities received from the royal household should be disclosed. They are also asking for full disclosure of the Queen's and Prince's consent. All records regarding the granting of Queen's and Prince's consent should be published to allow for a full assessment of the impact on the veto of legislation. Also, an end to royal veto, which would essentially be an end to the constitutional monarchy that we have. If the government wishes the crown to be given privileged status within any law, it will need to make the case in Parliament. Also, an end to the practice of sending cabinet papers to Charles. Charles has no legitimate need to see cabinet papers. This practice should stop immediately. Also, they want to introduce financial reporting reforms so that royal finances are reported by an independent body. Incorporate all royal costs into the central finance report. That's a big one. I've always said that they should just come off the taxpayer purse string completely. Also, transfer royal archives to the National Archives and place them under the same rules for disclosure and access, and a full commitment to apply the 7 standards in public life to the royal household. So that is what they're asking for. Pretty thorough and all pretty fair, I think. They should not be able to, have so much secrecy. If, we're told that the monarchy is there for good. And if it is there for good and it's there for us, then we should know what they're doing. Why the secrecy? On to the next thing. This I just found hilarious. This is an article that came out today. This is more British politics related as opposed to royal related. But Australian officials are seeking to steal British teachers, doctors, and nurses with a promise of a better life and 80% higher pay. Officials said outrightly, "We are here to steal your workers by offering them a better life," one official said, as he seeks to coax UK workers to leave. And it was back in 2019 that Priti Patel had gone to the Australian government to advise on an immigrant point system. And now Australians are apparently trying to steal British workers. Now, I have some friends who live in Australia, and it is true that the pay is higher. It is true that there is a more laid back lifestyle and a much better work-life balance. So they're not really lying there. That's of course not to say that Australia does not have its own issues. It does. But in comparison to the UK, we're comparing here. We're not saying one place is perfect. We are comparing. In comparison to the UK, the pay and work-life balance is better. If you're comparing overall, not saying it's perfect, to the point where I have seen several stories actually of nurses in particular moving to Australia from the UK. Also going to Canada and countries in the Middle East as well. So, people see what's going on here and they know that there are skilled workers and they want them. Apparently, there is a shortage of about 30,000 workers, they're saying. Although, anybody who is actually from Australia, could you please tell me why the government there isn't just investing in training its own people? That's another question that I have. But yeah, I'll get your comments before we get on to the next thing. Hi everyone, if you're just joining us. You lot are laughing at the South Park episode. Yeah, I never knew about this at all. Went over my head completely. Only learning about it now. Just wow. Like what did the producers of South Park know in 2011 that we didn't? That's nuts. Um, yeah, not my thing. Charles is in trouble. Coronation's going to be very interesting. Daniel, has anyone heard that Nostradamus story? Oh, the prophecy? Yes. That Charles will either not be king or not be king for very long, and a man who did not think that he would be king would become king. And some people think that's Harry. I don't see that happening. Well, there is a shortage of nurses here in Australia. They are overworked. Well, that's probably why your government is asking for more people, but I don't see why they just don't invest. I mean, it's the same in the UK, to be honest. We're also having a problem. Just invest, because one of the problems with the nursing profession here in the UK is that the nursing profession used to be a very steady and stable profession if you were, especially from a working class background. And now it's become very expensive. All of the bursaries and sponsorship that you used to get are now gone. So it's like you're racking up debt to do a job that's only going to give you a working class wage. Jean, I remember only making £16 per month when I did nursing. Oh my gosh, that's almost the same as what you would make if you were working in like one of the high end department stores. Like you might as well just go get a job at Harrods or something. My gosh. I mean, nurses and doctors should be paid very, very well. They are the backbone of our society. All right, on to the next thing. Oh, poor Burrell. Poor Burrell, sir. So, Paul Burrell recently disclosed that he was diagnosed with cancer, and I just can't imagine getting such life-changing news like that and still being focused not on recovery, not on giving your um giving yourself as much positive karma and energy as possible. You are focused still on hating on two people on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. Sorry, guys, there's too much noise. Sorry, a police car went by. So yeah, instead of focusing on his recovery, on just having like detox teas, on just trying to relax, oh no, he's still out here grifting and talking about Harry. And he's talking about Harry using his memoir and sharing private information to make gains. But isn't that what he's doing by sitting here and talking about Harry himself? And this is the same Paul Burrell who was accused of stealing items and lying. Now, he was acquitted, but I wouldn't be surprised if some strings were pulled in the background and he got off lightly. Right. Go through your comments and we'll go on to the last story. Hi, Dorothy. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Hi, Olive. Yes, I am in a very, very good mood. Very jolly mood. It's getting a lot more hotter and sunnier here. All right, last story. Now, a bit of a sad and weird one, this one. So, there's this young girl called Constance Martin and her uh, uh, boyfriend, Mark Gordon. Now, they went missing I think it was a couple of weeks ago. And I heard about the story at the time, but it wasn't really going anywhere. They were just searching for this couple. They've been on the run, been using cash, evading the authorities, and nobody knows still where they are. They've just somehow been evading the authorities and been completely off the grid. And there's quite great concern, particularly for Constance's young baby, because they are with a baby. And Constance's father, Napier Martin, believes that she was possibly brainwashed by a cult. There's quite a popular church called the Synagogue Church of All Nations. They're based in Nigeria. And that she apparently spent 6 months there and was traumatized at the time. Even worse still, her boyfriend that she's on the run with, Mark Gordon, is a convicted offender, and he served a 20-year sentence for assaulting a young girl when she was 14. So, um, a very tragic and worrying situation. Um, Very sad that Constance, for whatever reason, decided to get herself involved with this man. But there has been a lot of controversy about this church. They are very, very popular. A lot of Westerners do go to this church to visit them and pray there. The actual founder of the church was known to have been quite, charismatic, as people that run these type of organizations are. But that has not come without controversy. So whether or not this church has anything to do with their disappearance is still to be seen. But I hope they are found, and they are on the run somewhere in the UK. So if you see these faces, please do alert the authorities, and I hope she's found safe. The her father was actually, I think he was like a page boy or something for the Queen, and they own one of the estate homes here in the UK. So they are of that, Aristo set, and one has to wonder, why a young lady from such a privileged background would get involved with someone problematic. But I hope that she is found safe and her baby is safe as well. And with that, that's pretty much all I had to say. I will end with your comments, and we will call it a day. Patricia, you think that Paul Burrell was let off because he knows where the bodies are buried? Yeah. He has really milked his position as Diana's former butler. He has nothing else to his name but Diana's former butler. Jimmy, you said, as a Nigerian, I can tell you this church does anything apart from Christianity. They are crooks and are very fetish. Yeah, unfortunately, these money-making mega churches are a thing, and they do exploit their popularity to take money. And I just don't think your relationship with God should be with you and God, and there doesn't have to be a huge wad of cash in between you and your gods. So plenty of lovely churches, of course, but there's those bad apples that just take advantage. Danielle, you said, I get the feeling that the unexpected will happen and Kate will be the next royal to go rogue. It would be very interesting. I actually don't think it's going to be Kate. I think it's going to be Edward. I think Kate has too much to lose. I think she's got her family and her mother on her back. She doesn't really have any sense of identity of her own. That's more than been proven because of her obsession with dressing like Meghan and Diana. So she has a lot to lose. Well, actually, I think that she has a lot to gain if she does leave. If she can grow a backbone and find her power. But without finding her power, she has a lot to lose. So I don't think that she'll leave. I think the institution would have to make the decision to get rid of her. I don't think she'll leave. All right. Rini said, you stopped going to church when I began to ask myself, how is it that if God is all powerful, but I still need my $20? Yeah, I mean, nowadays, I listen to a lot of sermons and things online. So it's like, you don't even need to go to church, like physically. I mean, there's a community aspect of going to church. And if you find a nice church, like I actually grew up in a really nice church. I love my church. And, my pastor and my deacon mother, they're still very close members of our family. I love them both. But not all churches are made equal, unfortunately. Puppy Edward, interesting. I think so. I think Edward would be paid a pretty penny for his book. I mean, I would read that. If he gives me enough juice, yeah, I would read something from Edwina. Alma, those two celebrating over the crown. Yes. Okay. I think y'all have had enough royal news for one day. You had Baron, you had Facts and 2 cents, and now you've had me. So let's wrap things up. Who's going to get the last word of the day? Thank you everyone for coming, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe button on the way out, please, if you haven't already. Much appreciated. And sorry, I didn't do a podcast yesterday. I went to a party and I didn't realize how late I was going to come back, and I'd had too much wine. And I didn't have it in me to do a podcast. Otherwise, I would have been talking absolute gobbledygook. And I talk enough gobbledygook when I haven't had wine. Even worse when I have. Jimmy, we want more. I'm sure you do, but I'm going to end it right there. Have a lovely day, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Ciao.
Love's for beginners, ain't no winners. It slips through your fingers, I ain't telling no lies. So F all the drama, F the karma. Just do what you wanna, promise you got time. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being almost she'll never betray ya. She ain't telling no lies. So break the glass ceiling, find your meaning.